Welcome to Living Local with Lori. Hi, I'm Lori Johanneson, a top performing realtor in Naperville and the surrounding suburbs. My goal with Living Local is to connect my friends, my family, and my clients with other local area experts. Today, I'm happy to be sitting here again with Jeremy Meek, and we are going to talk about home inspections and what home inspection issues are seen in a lot of houses and which ones are truly major health and safety that get brought up that a client should really be afraid of. In this market right now, we are seeing a lot of homes that buyers are buying as is, and they go in and they get a huge list of things that are wrong with the home. And it freaks them out. It scares them. And especially somebody who's never owned a home before, it just seems like a little bit of an overwhelming list. And so I think having Jeremy on, you'll be able to help put people at ease that every home is going to have these issues. Which ones should you be concerned about? And then we'll discuss the major ones and what you should ask for. So Jeremy, thank you again for your time, because it is a very busy market. And you're a great home inspector. So
thank you. No, I appreciate that. It is a crazy market. Everybody's experiencing it. It is something that it's very, I know, stressful for everyone. Every piece of the deal is a lot of work right now. It's tough on buyers. And so yeah, when it comes to the home inspection, we're usually at that, we're like the last gauntlet that everybody's waiting to get through, right? Kind of nervous about. But yeah, it's important to know that we're there to help protect the health and safety of the people that are buying, but also to let them, just inform them on what they're buying. You know, there's stuff in every house. We have a list in every house, that even brand new construction. So the lists are sometimes longer in older, well-worn houses, but there's always something. So to be aware of that going into it, you know, our goal is just to make you aware of what you're buying. Our focus ultimately is health and safety, major health and safety items as far as the real estate transaction goes. And so there are items that come up on nearly every inspection, and that's kind of what we're talking about today. The short list that we were talking about is electrical items. There's often small electrical items, either because something is worn out, things like GFCI protection where it's required, or outlets that have been miswired, even some smaller issues in electrical panels. People change breakers or tap too many wires into a breaker, things like that. This is stuff that comes up all the time. It is safety, and it usually ends up at the top of our list, which can worry some folks. But a lot of times these electrical items are pretty small dollar repairs. And although they're safety and they can be fixed for $50, we don't want anybody getting hurt. And that's why we have it in the report. So keeping some of that stuff in perspective is important going through this process. Another, I guess, common area to find problems is little plumbing leaks. We see lots of leaks at sinks or at toilets. Again, sometimes, more often than not, the stuff at the sinks are small issues. Sometimes it's just a matter of taking stuff apart and cleaning it up, putting it back together. So although leaks with time can cause a lot of damage, and that's usually why we're reporting on them, because they are an immediate, something that needs addressed immediately, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should run from the house. I mean, you've probably got leaks that you don't even know about in your own home until the home inspector or somebody comes poking around, right? So a lot of the plumbing issues that we find are relatively easy to fix, just like the electrical items. It just becomes several bullet points a lot of times, because it's you know, multiple outlets or multiple breakers, that kind of thing. Anyway, and then another area that we see come up a lot is HVAC issues, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, usually just because things have not been kept up with. People aren't getting their regular services, not changing filters. There's condensate leaks, you know, in the cabinets that just haven't been addressed. And some of that stuff is just kind of out of sight, out of mind for people until we come through, and it looks like a bigger deal than sometimes it is. But Even a clogged filter, a dirty filter can affect the function of the furnace. And if things aren't working as they're supposed to be, we're going to make note of it and let you guys know, hey, at least have a service person out and make sure this is all good. So most of the time those turn into simple clean and checks by an HVAC contractor and you're in business. So
what is on the heating and air? I know I just heard it and I'm drawing a blank. So is it at 9 or is it 11 years that you start calling it end of life? What is the end of life?
So yeah, general life expectancies on things. It varies by the type of furnace usually, or sometimes we've got boilers or other systems, and they all have different life expectancies. But a forced air furnace, like we see, most of what we see is a forced air furnace and air conditioner. A mid efficiency version is 18 to 25 year life expectancy. High efficiency units, which are the ones with the plastic pipes coming out of the top, like we see in most new construction, they have a little shorter life expectancy, more like 15 to 20 years. So once we get into the life expectancy of those units, we're usually calling them out. If for no other reason, just to let you know, here we are at, we're approaching life expectancy on this unit, not necessarily meaning that, will it make it 20 or 30 years? It may well, but we also don't know once we've hit that life expectancy, how long to expect, especially if the condition of the unit isn't great. So that's when it kind of starts to hit our list. As far as
if somebody's maintaining it year after year, I mean, yes, there's never a guarantee, which is why home warranties are a great thing to have in place. But if somebody's been maintaining it year after year, it's still going to be called its end of life, but it probably really has a lot longer to go. And it's not necessarily something that should cause you to cancel a contract, right? So
yeah, I wouldn't say necessarily. I mean, I had a 30-year-old furnace that was well maintained and worked. It was noisy, but it worked fine. And the HVAC contractors, our heat exchanger was fine. And so it was one of those things that me as a home inspector, or anybody else that comes in and looks at the thing is going to say, gosh, that thing is old. And we're going to put it in the report. But yeah, it worked. But on that flip side of that too, we've seen 5-year-old furnaces be shot and have to get replaced. It's tough to gauge, but you're exactly right. It could be 20, 25 years. We love going in and seeing those service tags where they've hit it every year, every couple years, every 6 months, they've got someone out for, maintaining that furnace, maintenance the air conditioner. That ups our level of confidence, especially on older units, to say, it's old, it's near life expectancy, but check out the maintenance regime. They've really kept up with it. So that always helps. If nothing else, when selling, having someone come out, service it, clean it up, especially older units, to say, we just had somebody out, it's just been serviced. We'll still call it out because of age, but it's nice to say, it's already had a second opinion. Someone's looked it over. It's just one less hurdle in the home inspection process.
Right. No, because you're just seeing things from an overall general home inspector's perspective, not necessarily I'm a certified heating and air conditioning person or a certified electrician. You just know what to look for that should be reviewed by somebody else eventually. Also, foundation cracks, which foundation cracks should be fixed or not fixed. I always say ones that are leaking definitely should be fixed or having moisture come through, but all foundations have cracks. It's just, it happens, and it happens over time. It doesn't mean we're going to need to condemn or call it a structural issue, correct? It just is a common thing, but obviously once it starts to leak, it can start to shift. And if we're going to finish a basement, yes, you might as well fix all those cracks so you know what's behind the walls. But I often see people get upset about a foundation crack in a house when I am like, there's one, and I've been in houses where they've had 10 and they're all fine. But yes, if you're going to finish the basement, fix it. If moisture starts to come through, definitely it could turn into something bigger if you don't address it, just with everything. And do you agree with that statement as well?
I do. I always kind of joke with people that I'm sometimes taken aback or surprised when I see a concrete foundation that has no cracking. Although it would be ideal, it's very common to see hairline cracks, from material shrinkage, I don't know, maybe a little settlement, whatever it is. But if there's no differential movement in that wall, meaning parts of that wall are shifting one way or the other, or the cracks are staying essentially hairline without leaks or anything, I mean, for me, that's a typical crack. We see it in all foundations. So it's something that we call out because people see a crack and they worry. So we say, yep, we've seen it. It's a typical crack. We try to express that to them. And then, we elevate as we need to as far as the level of concern. Like you said, if it's leaking, is it a structural problem? Unlikely, depending on how bad the crack is. It may just be something that's getting some moisture through that needs filled to keep the basement dry. Yeah, it's nearly every concrete foundation you're going to find cracks. And that's probably the most durable material. Once you start looking at block and stone and brick, and it's a guarantee there's going to be some cracking. The question is to what extent. But yeah, cracks alone are nothing to worry about. There are stone foundations that you can stick your hand through the holes that are structurally sound. I'm not an engineer, but I mean, it's a lot of those materials are more durable than you would expect as far as holding the house together. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I always say, and I think I wish all the buyer's agents out there of the world would sit and read through that inspection part of the contract. So the buyers will understand what is okay to ask for, what is common to ask for. It's truly anything major in nature. And that's what I try and educate our buyers on. If there's something toxic, if there's mold, if there's a elevated radon level, those are serious issues. These other issues that are more common, yes, in some instances, maybe it's okay to ask for it, but you just have to know that what is common. And if you cancel one contract because of the issue, there's a good chance you're going to walk into the next house and see the same thing. So absolutely, Jeremy, true. I appreciate your time. I think this was super informative. If anybody's looking for an excellent home inspector, Jeremy Meek, Discovery Home Inspection, has been one of my absolute favorites for many, many years. And I appreciate your time. And I'm sure and hope I will see you again on a buyer contract. Hopefully we'll be winning more here soon as the spring market kicks in and everybody will be more educated by hopefully watching our Living Local. So thank you.
Thanks, Lori.
Please remember to follow us on our social media channels as well as livinglocalwithlori.com.